I met an amazing young new friend who shared with me that he struggled with incessant thoughts about certain things. And he said, it's funny that there's some things that I just can't leave alone. I don't really understand why I just can't let them go. And we had a beautiful conversation about the neural system, about how extraordinary the brain really is, and that when we understand how the brain works, we are finally able to use tools that meet the brain where it is, and at least do our part to assist the brain to do something that it naturally does in such a beautiful way. So, in the course of our conversation, I learned that my brand new friend was an aficionado of the Canyonlands that grace the southern portion of Utah. So, to continue our conversation about our extraordinary brain, I thought I'd pull in a friend of mine who is an experienced and talented canyoneer. And with his help, we'll continue the exploration of the brain. Welcome to the slot canyons of the mind. Well, hello. You are listening to the No Brainers Empowering Possibilities show. These are dialogues of encouragement with fresh perspectives, invitations to ahas, a little bit of science, and a dash of behavioral psychology, and some usable and fun, easy skills to try now, and a whole lot of creative fun. So if leveling up is on your radar, my friend, you are at the right show. I'm your host, Roseanne Marsh. I'm the author of the teen and the parent empowerment curriculum called Level Up. And you are listening to episode number 67. Welcome to the slot canyons of the mind. So let me introduce you to my canyoneering friend, Bruce Mahoney.
Hi, my name is Bruce Mahoney, and I love canyoneering. Canyoneering is where you go down a slot canyon, and you usually have several rappels that you have to go down, and lots of times you have swimming or obstacles you have to work your way through and around. And canyoneering is just, it's a beautiful sport because you're secluded, you're in nature, you're in these canyons that are carved by water and make fabulous, magnificent, beautiful, awesome features and just amazing beauty. And you're usually very secluded, away from any of the crowds. Yeah, no, millions of years. It's been doing it for a long time. We'll see in canyons, we'll see logs that are jammed 40 feet above our heads. And the water was up there at some point because it gets a lot of water at some times, and then it's down where it normally is. But it takes millions of years, billions of years, I'm sure, to form these canyons. Water finds the path that's of least resistance, but it also can carve into very deep, hard rock, and also it just makes beautiful shapes, beautiful creations. It's unique. Everywhere you go is different. Canyoneering is usually done in areas where the stone is softer, like sandstone, because the water can carve it more quickly, and in a very vertical form. Lots of times we'll be in a slot canyon that the walls are hundreds of feet high, and you're down in the bottom of it, and it was formed by water in this softer stone.
It's interesting how similar the slot canyons of the intricacy of the carved stone is so much like the neural system in our mind and our body. Those 86 billion neurons that grace our body, with the highest concentrations, of course, in the gut and then the mind and the heart, are recording a database of all the experiences that we've had in life. And when we have similar experiences, it forms this stronger neural network, similar to how the water carves through the stone. It's almost like there is this rut where it leads the mind, because life will always reference the largest neural networks. So that's where our thoughts will naturally flow. And you see that the largest neural bundles are the ones that are driving our behavior. Those are the ones that direct our path, because our brain will reference those. Just like that water finds the path of least resistance, our thoughts go down into those deep recesses of recorded experiences, and they reference these because it's the path well traveled. And because these neural bundles are so large, either because of repetition of having something, or just like that water that washed through constantly eroding away the path, we have some experiences that we repeat repeatedly, or they nod to or are similar, and they reinforce that thought. And therefore, those thoughts are going to become incessant. And then they become the framework, or they become the filter by which we look at our life through. They are our program. It's how we are programmed. Or we have those large neural bundles simply because we have something highly emotional equal to that enormous flash flood that comes through our life. And it leaves an indelible impression on our memory, so much so that when we react to life, we refer back to that as a reference of how life treats us and maybe how we should react. Now, I have to also put in here that it's also the good things that are recorded in our neural network, right? Things that we repeatedly experience, and our brain or body access those beautiful memories. Therefore, we have beautiful intricacies of our life that we are made up of also. It's all the things that we have experienced.
It takes a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, and you need to be prepared for an alternate plan in case something goes different than what you think. All right, so we love to canyoneer down in Zion's National Park. There's a lot of canyons, it's a very popular area. There's a lot of other places too, but Zion's is a beautiful place and has many, many slot canyons, some quite famous. But July 24th, 2010, we were going to do a slot canyon in Zion's, and we didn't get an early start because it wasn't a long canyon. So we started the approach up there, and just a white fluffy cloud day, and the chance of rain was minimal. There were other people in the canyon below us, and we got through at the first rappel, and the whole sky started clouding up very rapidly, and then it all broke loose. Flash flood, just the whole sky just broke loose, and we were down in the slot canyon. And when you're in a slot canyon, you don't want to be in a flash flood, but we were. So we had to problem solve. We had to get up to higher ground. We had to avoid the water that was rushing down the canyon. Luckily, we had a place we could be safe, fairly safe as far as the water goes, but there was also obstacles of rocks falling down from above you because the water was washing all this debris from the cliffs above, and so that was also a hazard. We survived the initial downfall, and then the rain subsided. It was not supposed to be a flash flood day. It was, just a slight % chance of rain, but this was a very unique situation with the weather. So yeah, you're in this flash flood, you're in this downpour, and you're really at the weather's mercy, the water's mercy. You can't go anywhere. You hunker down, and I had my son and my daughter with me and 3 other friends, and we were just there waiting it out and hoping that we would be okay. And we were worried about people downstream because we were not in an area that was particularly slotty. We could get to higher ground, but we knew there were people below us, and we didn't know what was going to happen with them. But
with over 60,000 thoughts that permeate our conscious and unconscious mind during the day, we have to be ever vigilant at what those thoughts are. We have thoughts that take us towards the goals and the direction that we want to go, and they take us in a positive direction. But then we also have those that take us away from that. In essence, we are truly deciding whether we want to be empowered or disempowered, empowered or disempowered when it comes to moving our life in a positive, progressive way. And we need to have the skills and the tools to be able to recognize when our thoughts are going down those familiar etched paths that don't serve us, and be prepared and ready to be able to seek for higher ground.
It was a scary experience, and we waited it out. And finally, the rain subsided. The water, once the rain quits, the water's gone pretty fast. So we waited it out and proceeded down the canyon. But then we heard choppers, and we realized that there was probably some problems down canyon from us. And we were proceeding down the canyon and came to a rappel where we were high up on a pinnacle, and here this helicopter came and just hovered right by me. I was up there, I was the last one up there, and just hovered right there, kind of seeing how we were doing. And we were fine, and we thought, and so I just gave him the big okay, the big okay sign, universal. And so the chopper kind of waved, and away he went. Then we heard the choppers coming and going, and we go, oh boy, somebody down below didn't fare as good as we did. So we went further down the canyon, a few more rappels, and all of a sudden we come to a rope that is there. And people don't leave your rope unless you have to. I mean, you always pull your rope because you got to keep going down the canyon. Well, it was a particularly slotty place. And we pulled their rope and used ours and carried their rope out for them. And pretty soon we ran into another party that was below us. And he says, yeah, there were two guys got swept over a 60-foot and a 40-foot waterfall. And they survived. They had to be life flighted out. They had broken hips, broken bones, and we didn't know what exactly had happened. But pretty soon the Rangers showed up because they were coming up to meet us at the last rappel. Anyway, we took out the rope. We were guided out by the Rangers. It was getting dark, and then it did turn dark. We didn't get out till way after midnight. But we were fortunate, but others were not so fortunate.
When you're in the bottom of your mind, your slot canyon in your mind, it's starting to rain, proverbially, we know we've got to get to higher ground. We know we need to elevate our emotional state. And that's the beauty of the Level Up program, because that's when we start to recognize the hierarchy of emotions and how to move us to a different state of mind, to a different emotional state in those times of anxiety and depression and disappointment. Because moving that needle in a timely manner is a really important life skill, especially in times of stress, when you need your wits about you and when you need to be able to problem solve. I believe it was Einstein who said, you can't solve your problems from the same mind that created them. In other words, if I'm down here at the bottom of the canyon of my mind, I'm not going to be able to solve problems like I could if I was up here at a higher level. And that's when we need to have tools. And when we're in a lowered emotional state, a lowered state of mind, it affects everything else. It could be sunny around us, and all we'll see is dark. We can interpret people's intentions of something different from what they had intended. In other words, when we have gone down one of those familiar slots into a lower canyon, it feels like the world is raining down all the time. So just a couple quick tools that'll get our mind to a higher ground. First of all, breath work, breathing. As we all know, there's a different breath work pattern for every single emotion. Think about how you breathe when you're depressed. It's probably like upper lung, shallow, and some sighs that go along with it, right? But when you're breathing in a calm manner, even if it's in for 4 and out for 4, and in for 4 and out for 4. Or you can breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. That's called box breathing. And at Level Up, we have 8 different kinds of breath work to teach you how to do. But it triggers your mind to recognize a pattern that's calm. But here's the beauty behind it. It's not just breathing differently. It also changes the chemistry that's been released into your body. And that starts to relax the muscles. And we know when we're in fight or flight, all the blood goes to the limbs so that we can run and so that we can defend ourselves. But it releases the blood back into the body and also into the brain. So that new chemical cocktail that we just released takes us out of high alert and helps us be able to focus on problem solving more effectively. My second favorite tool to stay in control is music. If you don't have a playlist right now, gather a playlist. Everyone should have one of their favorite songs, those that you put you in a place of hope and gladness and happiness. You know that song. It should be a song you know. And when you hear it, your soul comes alive. Those are the kinds of songs that you need in a playlist. And playing that music will help you to get to higher ground. It's one of the fastest ways to state change. Now, there's a lot of different tools that we can use, but just quickly, those are two that we can use almost immediately.
Yeah, yes, you have to, so for the canyon, you have to have a permit so they know who was in the canyon. Well, it turns out that these people that were below us had sight over to one of the roads in Zions, and they used their headlamp in an emergency flash mode, and an off-duty ranger saw it. And so that's how they came to rescue these people, and they knew they were there. They could check the permits and see who was in the canyon, and that's why they checked on us and all the parties that were in the canyon. But it's regulated. It's important that you are checked in and have a permit so that if something does happen, they know what to do. Well, so yeah, canyoneering in itself is a very technical sport, and it takes a lot of experience. And if you don't have that experience, you should go with someone who does, or at least start out with very simple canyons. We were all experienced, save two of them that were with us, and they were a little scared, but the rest of us were pretty seasoned canyoneers and knew what to do in situations. There's situations where you have to, problem solve because it's not what you thought it was going to be, and it takes a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Planning, a lot of expertise and knowledge of your ropes, your equipment, and the way you're going to do this rappel, and the way you're going to retrieve your rope, because you have to get a rope. You have to keep carrying that rope down the canyon, and if it gets stuck, then you are stuck. And you have to have ascenders so you can ascend back up. Lots of technical stuff you need to know.
When we have tools and skills to be able to change our state and really take control of our thoughts and lead them to a higher ground, to something different, we're going to be able to maneuver life, the things that life throws us at, and the unexpected twists and turns of the day that they could turn into. But it's so nice when we stay connected with a network of people that can check in on us and make sure that we're okay, and can help us process out the things, can help us process out things if we need to. And could we be that person that helps someone else? Can we be the one that teaches them some skills and helps them out of their slot canyon? Can we be the one that helps them understand how sometimes our brain works against us, and sometimes we misinterpret things or we get triggered by things, and how to process through that? In Level Up Empowering Possibilities, the curriculum for adults and teens, there are tools to help you get emotionally and physically to a place where you won't get swept over those 60 and 40-foot waterfalls and won't end up being that casualty. Life wasn't meant to walk this path alone. We're wired for connection. So it's important that we have that kind of connection with other people. There are those that we can check in with, or that can check in with us. Do you have a support group where you can throw up an SOS? Do you have a friend that you can go for a long walk and process things and release things that don't serve you or them, so that we don't have to carry those things around? Are you that friend that someone else can call out to when they just need to vent, or to just sort out their thoughts and perceptions and get to a place of, okay, I'm good now? The battle is going to be won or lost in the mind. And the more control we have over our thoughts, or ability to redirect and refocus into that empowered state, the more time we stay focused in the direction that really is leading us to a positive place in our life. There's going to be course corrections throughout our whole life. That's just part of life. But when we can control our thoughts, it keeps us on the right path, not going down the wrong canyons or rappelling off the wrong edge. We don't come with file cabinets that are full of ideas of, okay, these are things you should not believe in your life. And we're not wired since 2 years old that don't believe everything that you think. It's something that we have to learn, and we have to learn control over. And we can eventually guide our thoughts to a productive path. And it's helpful to learn from those who have walked the path before, who have gone down that canyon before, who know where to set the ropes to be able to blade down. And there may be some deep slot canyons in your mind in the form of PTSD experiences or two that require that you reach out to the trained psychologist or someone who can help guide you through processing that experience from the past. Level Up has ways to help you transmute some of your life experiences that, quite frankly, are holding you back. And sometimes you need to start with the foundation where you learn how the brain works. And then the tools that you're given, you totally understand. We start creating changes. And that's like a ripple out in your life. Find those that can guide you, that can give you the tools and the skills and how to use them, and help you practice those so that in a flash flood, you know exactly what to do.
If you're going to be a canyoneer, you need to have the tools you need to do the job. There's some places where there's what they call keeper potholes, where you have to rappel down into a hole that's filled with water, and in order to get out of that, it may be too steep for you to get out the other side. So you have bat hooks or a pot shot you can throw over. There's just lots of techniques, and depending on the technical aspect of the canyon, what things you need to be prepared to do. There's places where you have to swim through log jams, through water that's been there for a long time, and it's like, we call it log soup, and you have to be prepared with wetsuits because that water that stays down in those canyons gets very, very cold because it sits down in there and doesn't see the sun. There's different techniques.
Yeah,
Just a month ago, there was two college kids that were doing a canyon in San Rafael called the Squeeze, and they got into it and they could not get out of one of those keeper potholes. They were trying for 3 hours and they were becoming hypothermic. So luckily they had not dropped their previous rope, and they had one guy that was still up above the hole, and so they got back up to dry ground and had an iPhone that had the SOS mode, and they got rescued. They were prepared. They even built a fire to keep once they got warm, which is not legal to do, but if you're in an emergency situation. And so they had to be rescued out of this canyon, and because they had an iPhone that had the SOS mode on it, they caught a few satellites he said they caught a satellite once in a while going through the slot canyon, above the slot canyon, and it sent a message, and the search and rescue came and got them out of there.
There are a lot of life experiences that are going to come up against you. And you have to know in advance to prepare for some of these. Now, it's impossible for us to prepare for everything that life is going to throw at us. And it's helpful to know tools because you don't want to be the weakest link in your group. There's going to be our own log soups, mental log soups that we encounter. And some of that is fear. And how do you find out how fear is showing up in your life? How do you develop that flexible mindset versus a fixed mindset and build resilience? And what about how you treat others? But more importantly, first, how do you treat yourself? Those are the ropes that can help us rappel the mountains or the cliffs of our life. We could try to just wing life and just do the best we can when circumstances of life come up and say, oh, well, I did my best. Or would it be wise to know better? When we recognize that there are shortcuts and there are reinforcements, and there's actual tools we can use to be able to maneuver through life with much more ease and confidence. That helps us get rid of the distractions that are happening to our mind. And these tools are really out there. They're positioned out there to be able to support our progress. And when we become aware and we stop and we use the empowerment tools, it keeps us on a path of life where we can get to where we need to go safer and in more control. And there's a disappointment to know that there was help out there. There are people that could help us on that path. And there are tools that were meant to help me, to give me an empowerment over my own individual solitary life.
Yeah. So, I mean, canyoneering can be very exhilarating and also, challenging, and especially when we're doing a canyon we've never done before, we don't know what to expect. And so we don't do that with just anybody. We do that with those that are very experienced, so we can problem solve, and we can be able to trust each other with our lives, because you are in fact trusting yourself, your buddy, to rig that rope right, or to belay you, or to make sure that the rope's not going to get caught when you go down or when you pull it. And anyway, you're trusting other people. When you're canyoneering, you have to be aware at all times. You are always constantly thinking, searching, and surveying your surroundings, and knowing what's ahead, what's behind, what you've done, what you need to still do. You've read the description, but the description, it always says in a description of a canyon, it always says canyons change. Do what's smart, not what's maybe you thought you were going to do. You've got different situations all the time that you have to face and problem solve, and it's very exciting, very fun, very beautiful.
And so it is with our life. My friends, our life is beautiful, and it's exhilarating, and it has twists and turns, and the beautiful landscape of our experiences, our learnings. And we need to stay present and enjoy life every single day. And in the game of life, wouldn't you want the playbook? Wouldn't you want empowerment tools that not only prepare you for when those flash floods come racing through our lives, or when we get sucked to the bottom of a slot canyon, but also to be able to help others to higher ground and to be able to repel life's challenges, but most importantly of all, help us appreciate the glorious and intricate, beautiful lives that we have, complete with the learnings, the setbacks, the wrong turns, the right turns, but to be able to glory in the things that we are experiencing and learning, and appreciate every single experience we've had. So my new friend that loves canyoneering, I hope this parallel to your passion can help you understand even more the mind and the body in a new way. We get in the habit of allowing our thoughts to just go wherever they want to go. But there are ways for us to keep them from going into those lower slot canyons. There's ways that when we are in that slot canyon, ways to ascend and get to higher ground. And there's networks and a buddy system that we can set up to have the support we need. Even the good, the bad, and the ugly in our lives has carved intricacy into our life's experiences. And we learn to interpret the growth that we may have because of that experience. We begin to see the beauty in the architecture of our own slot canyons. Experiences are never wasted unless we choose not to learn from them. We at Level Up, we just want to help so that you can enjoy the beautiful architecture that your life has carved for you. Come look at what Level Up Empowering Possibilities can offer you, your family, and your teens. Go to levelupteen.com/learn more. You can get an indication of the different kinds of tools that you'll learn. And if you're new to No Brainers Empowering Possibilities show, even go back to episode number 1, where something is happening to you every day that you may not be aware of. Thanks for joining us this week. To learn more about the brain, the last 4 episodes were all about the brain. Go back and enjoy and see how we can nurture our brain and succeed in our lives' canyons. Tally ho, my friends.